Remember when Bonnie first hit the scene? She was incredibly powerful, dominating close and long range. Well, she's not seeing that much use in competitive. So what happened? Well, to find that out, let's dive into the history of Bonnie. On June 6, 2022, Bonnie was released. With her very versatile mechanics, dealing solid damage from far while being slow and tanky, an incredible amount of damage at close with her fast and high damage form. Now, her stats are very similar if compared to her present state, but all of her counters like hypercharge bars and some other bars didn't exist yet, letting Bonnie to drive in this meta, especially with her Sugar Rush gadget, helping speed and reload during her cannon form by 30%, really useful on getting kills, and her Black Powder star power, boosting her super range by 25%, can help her reach very far to brawlers. This helped her compete against Jan's very strong state, and surprisingly 2 days after that, on the 8th, Bonnie received her 149 gem skin Empress Bonnie for the Worst Bunch event. Later in this month, on the 15th, she got her Crash Test gadget, a gadget that is used during her non-cannon form that let her dash towards a short distance, knocking any targets hit it while dealing 300 damage. Now this gadget can be useful when she's close up, but it's easily outclassed by her first gadget, and it's kinda the same story with her second star power. On the 17th, she got her Wisdom 2 star power, a star power that shoots 4 projectiles from the cannon main attack, which isn't that useful at all since none of those are actually hitting anyone, and the extra range is way more useful and versatile than the star power. But later on the 29th, she got her True Silver and Gold skin, with some visual effect rework with Empress Bonnie main attack and Bonnie's Crash Test gadget, so Bonnie was very solid in this month. 2 months later, on August 31, she finally got her first ever nerf. A small nerf for her health by 400 for her cannon form. Now she's pretty good still since all of the newer brawlers like Sam and Gus doesn't really counter her, and that health nerf isn't that much, so Bonnie is still pretty good. But with Bonnie already this good, nothing can make her more broken, right? Well, on the day of October 25, the epic supercharged gear available on Bonnie got released. Now, of course, this is useful for charging her super up, but this actually caused a very huge bug. When this gear is equipped and you use her super, well, this bug crashed the game. So what they had to do next is to make her unuseful the next day. And it wasn't until the following day after that they fixed this major bug. Now after that bug, her epic gear went back to normal, and this is when we realized this gear was hot garbage all the time. You see, her shots require 4 hits to get her super, and what does she get after you waste 1,500 gold? Well, you still had to do 4 shots to get a single super. So this didn't really affect her, and she was pretty solid as long as she stayed away from the newest brawler Sam. But the next few brawlers they released severely affect Bonnie. In the middle of December with the Candyland update, they released 3 brawlers, which was Gray, Mandy, and Chester. Now, many of them weren't that much of a big deal. Mandy was perfectly fine if you can avoid her super, but Gray and Chester had abilities that make them very good, and these abilities really counter Bonnie when Bonnie lands on them. And also these brawlers were dominating the meta really goodly, so she did went down to the top of the A tier. So 2022 was pretty good for Bonnie, but would 2023 change that? Well, we start off 2023 with her journey to February 28, where she changed from a damage dealer to a marksman. Now, in this meta, she went down to the B tier. With a lot of aggressive brawlers being the top, she struggles a lot with charging a super. Also, Archie, the newest brawler, can counter Bonnie. But moving to the meta in May, Bonnie is doing better in this one. Aggressive brawlers are played less, which means throwers are generally being played more, and Bonnie's super is a great counter for that, making her go up to the A tier. Later on June 27, her Crash Test gadget got a buff it needed, with its damage going up from 300 to 1000 damage, which does make this gadget a bit more better, but her first one is still way too better. So she's still in the same spot. But 2 days later after that, she got fixed with an issue going on with her default skin. And speaking of skins, July brought 2 new skins for Bonnie. July 13th, the 29 gem skin Unicorn Bonnie was released. But on the 20th, her Foot Bonnie skin got released, also costing 29 gems. 2 months after those changes on September 5, Bonnie got her final nerf so far, where her projectile speed in her cannon was decreased by 5%, and this did barely affect her since 5% isn't that much. Also, there was a power change in this update, so leveling up your brawler now gets 10% more health / damage instead of 5%. So her second gadget crash test was much worse since they didn't really balance this one yet. But we also can't forget hypercharge, which released this update. Now the ones they released aren't too severe, except Shelly's was kind of game breaking at the time, so she's still in the A tier in this meta. But the next meta in November does severely affect Bonnie. But before we go into the meta in November, we have to visit October. On the 24th, her crash test gadget finally got balanced from 1000 to 2320 at max power level, and a Bonnie description change. Now this meta isn't that friendly to Bonnie, since brawlers like Rosa got a hypercharge and Bonnie struggles against tank. Also, there's a decent amount of brawlers in the top tier spawnables, which Bonnie also struggles with, so Bonnie did kind of fell off a bit to the B tier. Alright, so that means battle changes aren't the reason she's bad, and it plays more into the meta. So let's look into the last two metas. Well, in December's meta in the Star Tune update, she's still in the B tier, but slightly worser, mostly because of hypercharge brawlers becoming more common, and landing on them with her super isn't going to be a great idea. But our final meta, which is our current one, Bonnie fell off even more, going into the D tier for the first time. Now, a lot of the top brawlers have hypercharge, and brawlers who did not receive hypercharge yet, which is around half the brawlers, are struggling a bit more right now. But you may think this is the end for Bonnie, but Bonnie recently received a change with her damage increase from 1000 to 1120 at power 1, which is around a 12% increase in damage she received, and her supercharge rate got increased slightly, which is making her epic gear way more useful. So now she can charge her super in 3 shots instead of 4 with her epic gear. So Bonnie might be making a comeback, or might not as well making a comeback. But how come Surge fell off? Well, check out this video.